Hey everyone, I'm Brian Serrano. I am one of the peer mentors here at the ATA program. I'm here today with Dr. Nguyen, who is here to talk about his profession and any questions that you might have. I do want to advise everyone that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please use the chat and we will get to them at that point. And please stay at the very end of the CLC so you guys can complete and finish that survey. That way you can get credit for this CLC. Well, to get started, I just want to come up with some icebreaker questions. If you have any other professions than you have now, what would it be? Like if you were to do anything else than what you're doing, what would it be?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation to this very informal structure. If I know that everybody is sitting around eat, I would stop by McDonald's, get a hamburger. I haven't had lunch yet. I was so busy today. So no, I'm good. But you know, I really like this format, very informal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had to actually go get some groceries myself because I hadn't had lunch myself. I still haven't had lunch. So we're in the same boat right now. So we're on an empty stomach, just trying to roll through the day right now.
Again, thank you. And I'm Nguyen. I'm currently an adjunct professor with UHD downtown since 2011. And I'm also a police commander with Houston Police Department since 1993, so about 28 years with the service. And any other profession, obviously, I enjoy being law enforcement, and I also enjoy being a academic environment because it gives me a chance to impart my knowledge to my student. That is very to me very dear and important to me.
Awesome. What profession would you be if you weren't commander of the police department?
Like I said, I'd be a professor.
Oh, okay.
So if I retire, maybe another 5 years, hopefully I can be a professor full time here if there's an opening. So,
all right. Hopefully.
So if I get involved with being a police officer, I definitely want to be an academic environment.
Awesome. Nice. What is like a hobby that you typically do on a day-to-day whenever you're off from work and off from basically school?
My hobby, I have several hobbies. One of them is practice martial art. I practice martial art every day just to de-stress sometimes because in my life work can be very stressful.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been practice Vô Việt Nam, which is Vietnamese martial art.
Okay.
I have a black belt first degree in it, but I've been doing it for, I guess, over 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
So as a matter of fact, I teach at the UHD Houston for a while, for about 5 years.
Oh, really?
To the college student.
I've always wanted to learn martial arts, but I feel like, man, I'd be the first one down. You know, like I can get a good grip on things, but man, I don't know about fighting yet.
Well, it's not just a fighting; it's just maintain one of the things that we learn is about almost like meditation, learn different breathing technique.
Okay.
When you're under stressful situation, how you control your breathing.
Yeah.
In World War II, a lot of H5 fighters, they were good because they know how to control their breathing. So when they're flying, they know how to control it and they're able to keep from being too nervous and concentrate and be able to take down the enemies.
Doesn't that also help with like not losing consciousness as well?
Exactly. If you can hold your breath and breathe in and out really slow, you can really think really very straight. And like we discussed earlier, I also enjoy playing piano.
Oh yeah,
I've been playing for about 20 years, and it's the best way to be creative.
Yeah,
so
you can basically make your own piece right there
exactly.
in your own home. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the questions. So the first one I have for you is, what is your educational background, and what inspired you to become the person you are today?
Well, my background is like we discussed before the meeting is I have my bachelor in science, computer science from UHD Houston in 1991.
Okay.
And after that, I worked for the Army for 1 year. I almost joined them, the Department Army at Fort Hood, but my parents want me to be close to them, so I decided to join the Houston Police Department instead. And I always been a very outdoor and adventurous guy. So being a police officer was one of the reasons I want to join. Beside the usual answer, I want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to help people too, but I want to have that passion and be an outdoor guy.
Okay, so you take it's also basically like a way of like seeing places you haven't seen.
Exactly. The Houston Police Department is so big. We have over 50 different divisions, and as a commander at HPD, this is my 10th assignment at Northwest Division. Before I worked in the various capacity. I started as a patrolman, and then I actually worked in crime analysis also. I was using my computer science background.
Okay.
And then I promoted to sergeant in 2002, and I go back to patrol. And I also work in traffic accident where we investigate a lot of traffic fatality and police and fire vehicle.
Okay.
And I also work in the CL division, the support role. CL, you really learn how to apply your people skill, because a lot of times you deal with people. If you deal with people with respect, they will return the favor with respect. So that's what
that's one of the lessons that my dad always told me. You know, you got to give respect to
exactly
and stuff like that. You know, nobody likes to be talked horribly and expect them to be kind to you. You know, it's
every day we almost get a lot of time we got into confrontation, but you'll be surprised that even the prisoner that in there and they respect you, they actually jump in and help you to control another prisoner. Or taught the guy out, hey man, don't mess with the guy. He's cool. He's a cool dude. So if you give people respect, you get respect in return. So that was one lesson I've learned. And so work in the command center, which is almost like the communication center for HPD. Every time we have critical incident like active shooter or officer get hurt, we are the first point of contact, and from that point, we either call up the necessary resource, or we call the upper chain of command. That way, they can call out and correct the proper resource for the incident.
Okay, all right. So, and you said you continue to go into school?
Yeah, I forget. I got digressed a little bit.
Education.
It's
interesting to hear how much you've done. A lot of people don't realize what police officers do. It's like there's not only one thing that what we see in the streets is basically cops being on the road, but there's more to it than just policing. There's it's a whole umbrella of basically policing.
There's I get my master in the criminal justice management from Sam Houston State University back in 1999. Yeah, I remember, because that's before I got married. I got married in 2000. That's how I remember. So
what year? What month in 1999?
I think December 1999.
I was born in May 1999.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you were.
You make me feel really young. I remember my first class. I teach. I think is it policing in my second semester. So I mentioned about the incident in Lebanon when they got like over 200 Marine got blow up in during the Reagan year 1984, I believe.
Yeah.
So they said, what are you talking about? Who's Ronald Reagan? So I realized I'm really old. But it's okay. I mean, it's always good to have a generation connection.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I always talk to like I said, my dad's my biggest inspiration when it comes down to like growing up and all that stuff. So like hearing his stories and like, because when he came to America, he was he went to New York. That was his first place that he went to, and I was like, it's funny that you say that, because in history class I would always like say, man, everybody who came from other like countries, they would always go to New York.
Okay.
Oh wow, it's crazy how that always aligns and stuff like that. But and then after Sam Houston, you said you went to
Yeah, there's a funny story here is that before I turned 40, so I have a conversation with my younger brother. He said, bro, after you turn 40, you can't do anything anymore. You be too old. So I said, man, that's deep right there. So I said, let me see what else I can get. Or maybe a PhD in criminal justice. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so I applied, actually get in the Sam Houston State, and I got my PhD in 2010. Oh wow! So I didn't get too old after that. I guess I could accomplish everything that I need. But like I told Brian before, you know, even at my age, you always have to grow yourself. If you stand still, you know, your mind becomes stagnant, and that's when you get into trouble. So you continue to grow, you stay out of trouble. That's why I told my wife, that's it. I need to keep growing. Even I can't grow vertically, but at least I grow.
Look for another mountain
spiritually.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
My second question is, what is the day, you know, life at work look for you? You know, what do you do on a day?
A typical day, I have a typical day, but let me tell you my not typical day. Yesterday, I have 5 different meetings. So I start at 9 o'clock. I have a weekly meeting, talk about with the command staff. We talk about the trend and the critical incident within the city of Houston. As you know, the murder rate going up, so we try to control the murder rate. That's why we need to communicate. And at 12 o'clock, I have a video recording because we just went through a transformation leadership training.
Okay.
So they want to be recorded that way they can send out a video to all the employees.
Okay.
And 4 o'clock we had to meet with the chief because one employee got into trouble. Ooh. So I had to have that meeting. And at 6 o'clock I had to meet with my lieutenant and my officer because he kind of like have a little complaint, so I had to take the necessary step to correct him. Yeah. And at 7 o'clock, I have a meeting with one of my civic community in my area at 7 o'clock. Okay. So I'm done by 8 o'clock, go home and take a look at, make sure that I got everything down. Yeah. So that's why I like this informal structure. I don't have to take a look at too much. Yeah. But realistically, a typical day is I go in, I look at the daily crime report. I'm almost like I would say a CEO, but like a convenience store owner. So every day I go there, I look at my inventory, see what's going on, you know, like
see what it's looking like.
What's the crime in my area? Because in my area there's a burglar that having like 20, they have over 20 convictions, and he's still being let out, and he's still, oh my God, and he's still burglarized our neighborhood. So that's a problem. People complain, hey, you know, why police do nothing? We do our part. Yeah. But criminal justice not keeping this guy. Yeah. Because what they consider him a non-violent crime. Yeah. But even a non-violent crime, I mean, to me, every burglary only one trigger away from killing somebody. Yeah. That's always like the biggest threat whenever they do like any of like burglary crimes, really, because I mean, your life can basically be ended in a split second. Exactly. Really. So you never know what happens. That's the biggest issue I deal with is the serial burglar, or the auto theft, or the burglary motor vehicle, or the catalytic converter in my area. How the best way to combat it? Yeah. Without having these guys being held accountable. Yeah. So, and then we also have gang problem, and so that's why I had to work with we have a team called crisis suppression team. Basically, these guys are undercover. Even they patrol, they police officer like us, but they are under my command. And anytime I see a problem, I send them to the area to investigate in their plain clothes capacity. So they wear like civilian clothes? Yes, they have beard, long hair too. So you don't
What
recognize
type
it.
of car do they drive? Do they drive just regular cars?
Yeah, unmarked vehicle too.
Oh,
So,
man, that's pretty cool.
so
I never knew that.
well, I mean, you know, that's
Let me find out. Dr.
You have to
Nguyen.
blend in with the group, otherwise
Yeah.
they will recognize you. So,
I'm gonna be at the store and they're gonna call somebody up over here. Yeah, he's not doing his assignment.
yeah. If I have one in here too,
Nah, chill out. You're making me nervous now.
I think he's the one with the hat now.
Yeah. You almost blew my cover. No, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if we have any questions from the online
Sure.
chat. Ashley, do we have anybody who asked a question by any chance?
Hey, Brian, no questions right now, but if you
Okay.
all do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we will get to them during our session. But we did want to know what kind of martial arts did you practice? Molly used to do Taekwondo.
I practice Vo Vietnam is short for Vietnam, which means Vietnamese martial art.
Okay.
It's a mix of judo, Taekwondo, and jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow.
Like grappling,
Wow.
kicking, and press support. So
Oh, okay.
I think martial art is very good because you see a lot of time officers use a lot of force, but they don't really need to if they know how to control the suspect with a proper amount of force using the press support. You can easily control. Like when I shake Brian's hand here, I can shake him, but I can subdue him very quick. Just grab
Oh.
get him down. He said, "Oh man, that's too hard."
Yeah.
So yeah. So
I'm signing up for your class whenever there's a
Yeah,
class,
yeah,
sign me up. So I can go to make people go to sleep. So you know this.
Right. That's always.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like I had mentioned before. I mean, I always used to see like movies, like with martial arts, and I always imagine like, man,
well,
that has to be something you can learn easily.
everything I watch in movie, I don't believe in it because it's just too many dramatic. You only need to learn 5 real move and you can defend yourself on your life. All the flying kick stuff is just a movie only. It doesn't work.
They're all movie sets.
The higher you fly, the more chance you end up really bad. So the lower you are, the better center of gravity you have. So
All right. Well, you had mentioned that you had a PhD, correct? And like, many of us are still, getting our undergrads. Some of us are grad students. What advice do you have for people who, feel they're not getting anywhere in their life and feel like being in college is not, not really doing anything? Basically, to get them out of that rut, like what kind of advice you can?
well, my advice is if you feel that you need a break, like for me, go to school and working at the same time is a blessing because it gives me a really good perspective. If you go to school straight, sometimes you can get really boring and can't say, why did I study this? It doesn't apply to anything. And realistically, for me, I study computer science and I take a ton of math, like advanced linear algebra and advanced calculus 2, 3, 4, physics 4, 5, but I can't apply any of that. But when the real world, you see what you can apply and you know what you need to further your career, then it's worth taking that extra step in graduate school. But then if you don't know what you want to do or you don't know how to apply it, a lot of time these advanced just for show is not really applied to anything. So for me, with a PhD in criminal, it has been very helpful even in my career because, as you know, police go through tremendous change and growth right now.
Yeah.
And I can apply it to everyday work.
So what are some skills that you can provide, advice to people who actually want to be in like criminal justice or like policing or, something in Harris County, things like that? What skills can they develop if they're continue going to like school and stuff like that and they want to pursue the career?
In policing, actually clear communication is very important. You can tell I try to deliberately talk very slow. I was in the Houston Toastmaster Club for 7 years.
Okay.
Initially, in my early career, I have trouble speaking very clearly because you get nervous and you accelerate, you talk too fast, but you learn how to control your breath, you slowly talk and make eye contact with your audience and make everybody feel comfortable. So like in Toastmaster, it says, if you want to feel comfortable, you look at everybody and imagine everybody still in their underwear, so you feel comfortable. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the best joke, but if you feel down to earth and feel comfortable, you can speak very clearly. Yeah. So don't get nervous and I really, my advice is improve your communication, because especially when you talk on the police radio, is your message doesn't really get across as well as in person. So you really learn how to really slow down and every word. So that's my
especially advice. In like cases where it's like very like severe, like, you know, I know that there's some instances where like some officers can't like help but like freak out in situations like that, especially if it's something serious, like, you know, a serious accident, or they're seeing blunt force trauma right in front of them, or, you know, a lot of blood and stuff like that. You know, it's just depending on what the situation is. Of course, I can definitely see how breathing can also help you communicate better your message out, especially to not just one person, but to a whole group of officers, you know, especially if you need backup as well. But yeah.
What if positive change was only one design away?
Sorry. I don't know what happened, but
is that commercial break?
Yeah. Yeah, we had I forgot to cut it off, but that's one of the, whenever I'm talking to people, especially like if I have to talk to people like in the crowd, I tend to think that everybody's looking at me but above me, and I'm looking above them. So it's basically like we're going like this, but in a sense we're meeting them. I'm meeting them like up right here, like not eye to eye, but like in a certain way we're not making eye contact. What are 3 important things that have been most important to you whenever you chose your career?
Like I said earlier, 3 most important thing is that you have to have passion for the work. Even a career pay you a lot of money, but you don't enjoy it, I would not recommend it. You got to really enjoy it. Yeah. And I truly believe it. I enjoyed my law enforcement career. I mean, it is, like I said, I worked 10 different assignments, and different assignment I learned so much, and working with even my current assignment, I work with different community and working to offer solution to the community. Right now, the biggest problem we have in different community is firearm discharge because of the new law that everybody can have open carry. So a lot of people have gun, but at night they just shoot it off. A few rounds.
My neighborhood's always popping with guns like that. I know one of my classmates, like we were working on the car, and all of a sudden I hear like gunshots, and I'm like, I looked at him and I was like, do you not hear that? And he's like, oh, that's normal. And then he's like, that's far away. And then some other like series of shots happened, and I was like, oh my God, that's really close. He was like, don't even worry about it. We're gonna get through this. Let's just finish fixing the car.
Yeah, the open carry really encourage a lot of people doing that. So we tried the best. Look for different solutions. So that's one of my passion is helping out a different community. Yeah. And secondly is you have to have the temperament for it. If you are an introvert, you like just to read, check your phone, look at the internet, you know. I mean, you can change yourself, but if your temperament is just be by yourself, then you have to work on it to learn how to work with, because law enforcement is a pupil skill. You got to learn how to deal with people. So that's one of the things that you have to have that people skill to work with. Be yourself, cracking joke once in a while, don't be too serious, and make like people feel comfortable. That's very important. Yeah. And lastly is important for me is being outdoor. I would try, you know, even they I give you a little bit tidbit is that in 2002, I was on my sergeant score. I scored #1 out of almost 900 people take the test. So after that, I guess I bragged a little bit, but the chief office called me to work for him in the chief office. And I know that if I go to chief office, I will advance my career very quick.
Yeah.
But I believe that being outside is fit for me better.
Yeah.
Being outdoor and that's my temperament is being an outdoor guy. So I declined it. So but you got to have the temperament and the passion and what fit your lifestyle. You have a question?
Yeah, so just really quickly, obviously you're under a lot of stress and tension. You mentioned that you like being outdoors, so that's perhaps partially answering the question that I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
But so what would you do, or what do you do outside of your workplace to decompress? Like, I mean, what are some things that help you just sort of stable yourself mentally, like just sort of reset yourself?
Well, to reset myself after work, I go home. I pop one cold beer.
Hey.
What's your
Well, just one, okay? Don't do two. And I'm married. I have 2 kids, and working with my older daughter is in 2nd year at Louisiana State University.
Okay.
But only one son, so I work with him with homework, and I'll interact with my wife, and you got to learn how to compartmentalize work and family life. So if you bring work home, you can die from it. So you got to learn how to compartmentalize, and I have hobby and friend outside of work. So a lot of time a police officer make a mistake or only hang around with other police officer, but I hang around with my student also. So teaching actually helped me to decompress, because it get me off from work and interact with my student. Like every night I try to get online with a blackboard discussion and work with student, and have a good hobby, you know, playing piano. I play piano everywhere. Every week I try to get at least hit about 10 songs in my piano, continuing my progress. And I have a garden in the back, so I be wear my tank top, drink one beer, and digging, and grow some plant, and see the plant grow is a very rewarding also. So you gotta have other hobby. Otherwise, work only will stress you out.
It'll give you burnout, some serious burnout. I need to start picking up like a hobby like that, because
You gardening.
I actually tried gardening, you know, and I'm not gonna lie. I went to Home Depot, I got me some sunflower seeds, and I was like, man, I'm gonna grow the best sunflower seed, like the best sunflower ever. And like a couple weeks it died. And I was like,
Aw.
what do I not use it? I think it's because I kept it in the same little thing. I think I wouldn't like transplant it to another pot. So I mean, that's where I screwed up.
For me, my wife enjoy gardening too, but the problem with me is I only grow things that I can eat, and she only grow things that she can see. So she grow flower, and I grow a lot of vegetable and herb. And the problem is I always invade her land, so she always complain, "Why you invade my land over here? You over here?" So she keep digging up and throwing over my land.
My dad, he had finished eating a mango one time, and he was like, "We're gonna grow a mango tree," and I was like, "Okay, you're gonna do it," because I don't have a green thumb. So when he did it, it started growing. It reached up to like, I'd say like good 4 feet, man. And then that freeze hit.
Yes.
That freeze hit, it killed that poor mango tree. We had a mango tree and we had an orange tree growing. Man, it just destroyed it completely. And I was so sad.
That deep freeze killed everything. My brother-in-law have a mango tree. He got like 5 mango. He was so happy. I mean, he take care of it better. His kid, he got like 10 different light bulbs there, just keep it warm in the winter. But that deep freeze, man, it killed it, kill everything. So
even the whole grid, man, I don't know. Like, it's just like, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's funny because my dad actually showed me a trick. If you want to know what type of like fruit it is, like you get one of the leaves and you smell it.
Yes.
And I was like, no way, this smells like oranges. So I grabbed it, and you know, lo and behold, it smells like orange, and I was freaking out. I was like, I was showing everybody. I even told my neighbor, I was like, you want to smell this? And it's so suspicious because you don't just go up to anybody and be like, you want to smell this? It sounds kind of suspicious. But
Thank you.
anyway, you guys didn't have
Any questions?
Yeah, my phone in the chat.
I
I have like 17 questions.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Wow.
On the chat. To not interrupt.
Ashley, you mind reading some questions?
Yes, we have a few questions. So I'm gonna start off with Beverly wants to know, Dr. Nguyen, what is the best part of your job and what is the worst part of your job? Great question, Beverly.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Beverly.
You took my question, bro.
Man, I know Beverly is an A student. That's why she always asks me good questions. Well, the best part of the job is the freedom that I have. You know, it's even though we have a lot of rule regulation, but the freedom that we have to make decisions and the discretion that we afford is still very large, and that's the reason before we joined the department, the background check is very thorough. I didn't realize until after I get in is that all my neighbor, they will ask the time that I worked at the Department Army, all my supervisor, command officer, they will ask about my character, and even in my school at University of Houston, they would check on my background and so, because they want to make sure that the person joined the law enforcement have integrity. What is integrity? Integrity means make the right decision when nobody look at. So
Set an example, even if nobody's looking.
exactly. So that's why I really enjoy the freedom that we afford to make the decision, and you get to make the right decision with the right intention for the people that you work for, and the co-worker that depend on our reputation, especially with the Houston Police Department. My worst part of the job is
The meetings.
well, the meeting is easy, but the worst part is discipline my officer. As you know, if you don't keep your officer in the right path, they can become a huge problem. So you got to nip the problem with it. But as you can see, the problem with the George Floyd incident, I'm not sure what the history with the officer, but what happened there is totally unacceptable. I would have taken a lot of action more sooner than until that incident happened. So sometimes you got to take the discipline on officer, even though it's hard on me, but I know it's over the long run. It's good for the officer, good for the department, and good for the community.
Yeah, so it's a great answer.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that well-rounded response and addressing, you know, the tough pieces of disciplining officers, especially in our climate today with defunding the police and racial injustices. I want to segue to Dulce's question. She has several questions for you. The first one is, she is a criminal justice student at the moment. What can she do to reach out to officers in the field to get a ride-along experience or an internship with HPD?
That's another great question. The ride-along program right now is, I believe our chief has allowed it as long as you show proof of, I believe, vaccination. Yeah, or you be tested negative, because our biggest worry is still COVID. So if you can show proof that you've been vaccinated, I believe the chief will allow you. So you can contact the whatever station that you closest to, contact the station, and they will give you the proper paperwork and then send it up the chain of command. As far as internship is being handled, I believe, by our public affairs division. So if you can look up the public affairs division to see whoever the contact is, they can steer you to the right person to get the ball rolling. Thank you.
That is exciting to hear.
I actually remember doing a ride along whenever I was at San Jack. Man, that was like, it was so nerve wracking because I had gone to the department and I spoke with somebody and I was like, I'm here to get information about the ride along. And they were like, all right, give me 1 second. So they never came back. And so I left and then they came back and then they were like, what? So I had to call again and I called this time and I was like, they were like, were you the guy who left? And I was like, yeah, I couldn't wait any longer. I got nervous. There was people coming in and people coming out, but I did my ride along. And it was actually a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, right along.
I think I did it in Pasadena.
Okay. I actually when I was a lieutenant at Southeast Station Division, I have a ride along. She's a colonel from China, the Republic of China, and she did a ride along. And I actually had a chance to learn something from her, very interesting. She was a colonel over a city with over 8 million people. So she asked me, how many drug cases a day that you have at the Southeast, which is A300 Macau area? A day, I think I told her a day, I think I have probably at least 10 cases. She said, 10 cases. She said, man, we probably had 10 or less a year at the city that I'm at. So I guess you can look at 10 cases in a city of 8 million people a year. So you can look at how their policy compared to ours.
Yeah.
So to me, our policy in the US is almost like slap the wrist with people with drugs. But I think in China, people with drugs, I don't know what they do today, but they only have 10 cases a year. So that's so valuable on their policies. So I'm not even go there.
That sounds fearful within itself.
Exactly. So
we can go ahead and answer one more question, Ashley.
Alrighty, so I think you touched a little bit about your education, but do you ever feel the need to go back to school, like to learn more about new things that have changed in today's society, or do you have training that maintains the new environment?
that's a great question because matter of fact, right now, our police department, our command staff, we've been go through this training called transformational leadership change, and all the commander have to go through it. We in November I go to 1 week training, but this is an ongoing process. And matter of fact, last week we have a boss training that was 2 days long, and we hash out a lot of difficult issues that we have in a very open and honest communication. Because a lot of time we're afraid, hey, we don't need to tell them because even the chief was in there, and he acknowledged some of the problems that we have and how to move forward. So open and honest communication is the best way to change, and that's why we call it transformational change. And actually, one of the question in there is what book that you like the most? The book, the author is Dr. Dean Anderson and Linda Anderson. They are a very dynamic couple. They wrote the book. It's called Beyond Change Management. If you all can look it up, I repeat again, Beyond Change Management by Dean Anderson and Linda Anderson. I highly recommend getting that book and read. It really opened up my eye because it's the way they do is very real, that you actually walk the talk. You not only talk about it, but you have to walk it. You got to transform your organization if you want to have the message. So we actually have to learn how to practice this. Like last week, we actually used this by discussing about the various problem and how to implement the process for it.
Oh wow! I was actually looking for books to read myself because I mean, at the moment I have like 5 credits for my audiobook in like Amazon, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look through the book, see if I can find a book that I can listen to. Because sometimes whenever I'm reading, I get so something about reading it just, it's so hard for me sometimes, but listening to it, I can like listen.
Yeah,
to
they have a lot of audio book now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of audio book is very helpful too. So
You brought up the case about COVID. How has that affected you, like especially for like in your position as a commander?
During the last 2 years, we have a lot of officers got sick with it, and it really impact our manpower. There was one time our division we have about 140 officers, and there was one time we have probably 20 officers got sick with it, and really impact our manpower. And as a result, I really like our mayor policy, which is that if you are vaccinated, you have to show proof of vaccinated. I vaccinated 3 times already, and they came out with another dose. I might take another dose. I don't want to get sick. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about all these conspiracy theory stuff. I don't believe in it.
Like the chip.
I mean,
and the
I take
vaccine.
three already. The worst I got is like flu-like symptom. I mean, it knocked me out for maybe a day, but after that, I'm fine. And so if they come out another dose, I will take it. But so if you show proof that you're vaccinated, then you don't have to do anything else. But if you don't have proof or you're not vaccinated, then every 2 weeks, the officer had to test it to make sure that they are not COVID before they come back to work.
Yeah.
So that policy really helped us. And so as a result, a lot of officers go ahead to get vaccinated rather than having to test every 2 weeks. So
I know whenever like the beginning of COVID was happening, everybody was like coming up with the craziest conspiracy theories about COVID, and I don't know. I think it's funny to like read through them, but it's also like there's some people who can actually like believe those theories, and it's like, oh, like what if it is like that? But nah, yeah, I think that's like debunked by now. I mean, hopefully it is by now.
well, for me, I think probably when I worked at jail, I exposed. Well, of course, when you go to jail, you have the first shot, you take the TV shot, and then you take different shot too because you expose so much. There was one time I searched a prisoner, and after I searched him, got on my hand where we had to wear glove, and the guy said, "Oh, by the way, I have hepatitis C, I have AIDS, I got TB." I said, "Man, why did you tell me before I searched you?" After I told you that, I had to go upstairs, wash myself, everything, make sure that I don't get sick with all the disease. So I guess I've been exposed with so much virus, it doesn't make a difference anymore. Probably COVID probably ran away from me.
What are some professional organizations students can get involved in?
I would say try to volunteer. I volunteered to work with the until before COVID. I worked for several years, at least 7 years, with the organization called Review Houston Together. Basically, we help the elderly, the senior citizen, or the disabled people who cannot help themselves to review their house if they become uninhabitable. Or one time we have with a lady, the daughter couldn't get up the ramp because it was so broken. So we get together and build a ramp so that the daughter can access the house. So get involved in those volunteer activity, and that's how you build network. A lot of, usually those activities gravitate good people.
Yeah.
So you build a really good network, and you need something that they will go extra mile to help you. Yeah. So just don't join organization because you want to build a resume. You actually want to help people, but you also to gravitate to good people that you want to help you. Yeah. So
I know that's especially helpful for like any law enforcement students or anybody wanting to work for like Harris County, really, because I myself am going to start volunteering soon for the food bank to pick some foods up, or like the homeless shelter as well. I'm thinking about, I know one of my classmates actually goes and volunteers for the homeless shelter, and I know a few of us are going to the jail and volunteering there as well to like help out with the veterans and all that stuff. But
yeah, during COVID, we have a lot of food truck in our area. I make my officer go there and help out, because if you want to say you want to serve community, and you stay behind the desk and you're not out there, that is send a wrong message. But if you're out there and healthy, the season during COVID, a lot of people really stressed for finance. So the line, I mean, I know sometimes start at 9 o'clock and people already line up with by 7 o'clock just to get in line. So you got to walk the talk. You got to be out there and work with community.
That's very, like I mentioned before, I mean, that's very admirable. I mean, police officers really get so much hate for a lot of things. And I mean, but people really don't see, like, you know, the efforts that they do for the community. It depends on what they do and who they want to help and stuff like that. Like, and it's interesting to hear that you being a commander and how you tell your team, like your officers, what to do and how to, you know, get them in the right path, and make sure they're not basically in a low point of their life or going towards a bad route. It's very admirable, Dr. Nguyen.
Yeah, thank you. And that's how I get married too. I actually, I'm a Catholic, so I help out the church a lot. After church, you know, like just security, just make sure people park right. So the priest come up to me, "You still single?" "Yes, sir." "Oh, I have a sister-in-law, she's still available." "Okay." So next thing, she drive me down to meet my wife down in the medical center. So with the recommendation from the priest, my wife fall for me right away.
So
not beside I'm good looking, you know.
Of course. And you guys have been together for, you said 22 years?
22 years, yes, 2000. Thank you.
And you guys are gonna be 23 this December?
No, 22 be in May. We got married May 13, 2000.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That was May 6th. That was my birthday.
So, is that your birthday?
May 6th.
Oh.
7 days later, you got married. Oh my God. What can students like research or like Google and for law enforcement? Like how can they get informed if they want to pursue like, you know,
Oh yeah, thank you for that, asking that, and thank you for the question beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I actually looked it up this morning.
Yeah.
And there are 3 websites I really recommend is see, I can read it. One is policeforum.org, policeforum.org, by Police Executive Research Forum. Yes.
So you said the first one,
Policeforum.org.
Policeforum.org.
Yes. That's very good because it's a basically they give our own information about new technology and the new trend in the policing and case law, and they give toward to an exactly level. But it doesn't mean that the student cannot look up because it's very up to date on the new trend. So that's one of them. The other one is the IACB CP. It stands for International Association Chief of Police. So DIACP.org. D like THE, like the IACP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the IACP.org. So it's matter of fact, if last month February they have a conference with all the chief of police at Dallas, and they talk about the new technology. Our new model now is works smarter, not harder. So you got to rely a lot of technology. And one of the technology that we look at right now is shot detection. So like detection. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm not going to mention the name, but there's several companies out there. Yeah. But what happened in this shot detection is that they detect the gunshot and then they send a message directly to an officer, and almost real time. And that's how you make the case of firearm discharge. You can go in there within a minute.
Oh wow, that'd be super helpful for people who like shoot out, like, you know,
yeah. Matter of fact, we just bought 2 of them at HPD, and these systems are very expensive. It costs, I mean, initial cost, not only that, but also to maintain the license. Yeah, very cost, but it's very worth it because it's yeah, nothing beat a peace of mind for the season. So we deployed 2 areas. I'm not going to name the area because you don't want to the people that commit to know, hey, I'm going to stay from this area. So it's somewhere in Houston that we have it.
Somewhere in Houston. How many officers are trained in that already, or have you guys just, you guys have to still get trained?
The officer, they go through very extensive training before they operate it. So all of them are trained if they use the system. And another system we're using right now is the camera system that capture the license plate. So I'm not going to name the company, but we bought a lot of them. And what they do is we post it at statistically at a location that with high volume of traffic, and they capture the license plate. So if you have a fresh stolen, a vehicle just got stolen, and we know it, then it's sent to the officer's cell phone in real time also. So we'll be right there and behind. So that's why the technology is very important. So if you're in computer science, I encourage you to continue with that because we always need people in computer science to
That's so cool, man.
And you can be rich too. You can come up with the technology, you can multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
I said, man, I know Brian, man. Can you give me a job somewhere?
Don't worry, I'll remember you. You said you had a third website that they could look at?
Oh, yeah. So, sorry, another one is Police One, like number 1, policeone.com.
Policeone.com.
It's a very, I look at almost every day. It saw a lot of critical incident like police shooting, police pursuit, and one thing I like about them is like they have people analyze what you need to do in a shooting or what you need to do in pursuit. So you have the expert that you can learn from or disagree with. I look at it and it's very helpful. Policeone.com. It's very fun to look at. It's well, I should not use the word because in Toastmaster, you have to put a 25 cents in there. So you cannot do any or fueler. You know that. Everybody know what I'm talking about. What you said,
Oh man. I'm gonna ask one more question and then we're gonna see if the audience has any questions. What are some changes that have been happening around law enforcement that you can basically tell other students that are interested in law enforcement to prepare for?
There's a lot of change lately, especially after George Floyd incident. We have to be more mindful of how we use our technique. So there's a lot on how to de-escalate an incident. So there's a lot of emphasis on how to de-escalate an incident. And like we teach, especially our cadet we have them not only learning the technique, what we call verbal judo, talk to people in a nice way, respectful way, but also send the cadet to different community. And there's some community from the African American community, Asian American community, the Middle Eastern community, the LGBTQ community, all the community, the Hispanic community, that we can learn, not only learn about get to know them, but learn about the culture and the expectation from each community. So that's very important. If you don't know what people expect from you, then you are very hard to deal with. And as you know, in Hispanic community, the elderly and the male figure is very important. And so when you learn that, you can relate very well. And this I learned from one of my sergeants. He was a Marine when he was in Iraq. He told me the story that when he ride around in the tank and the guy that put his boot up like this, always got shot at, because that's a sign of disrespectful in the, I get in the Middle Eastern area. But you put your foot down and don't show your boot, you never get shot at. People respect you. But when you put your boot up, it's a sign of disrespectful. So just a little bit that you learn from each community can make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do any of y'all have any questions by any chance? Okay,
They're written down on the chat.
you could say them out loud.
You say
Say.
what out
You got like 15 of them probably.
Right?
Now, one of them was, did you ever change your mind after entering the course? Like, was there a thought in your head where it's like, why did I join this? Like, why am I here?
Not really. I never really have a doubt that being a police officer is the right career for me, because I thoroughly enjoy the job. Even though we go to some tough time right now, I know that's right now what they call a lot of people retire, especially for us after 20 years, you have a pension. So I see a lot of officers, they retire after they got 20 years. But for me, policing is very enjoyable because the fact that you serve the community and you make a difference in the everyday life of people. Every day I have a new story to learn, a new situation to learn. For example, when I was in the patrol in South Central, there was a time I had to take 2 kids back to CPS, and the mother already passed away, and the dad at that top is he has terminal cancer. So the CPS worker asked me that if they can take them back, but they want to see their dad the last time before, I guess he expired. So he see the dad. They don't really know that the dad is dying, but I take them back. But before I take them back, I make sure that they have a good time. So I stop at convenience store, let them play a few video games, and get them some food and drink, and just be friends with them, and then make sure they feel comfortable, because they probably don't have anybody. I'm not sure I didn't really follow up on that, but that really, when you serve the people, it makes you feel really, really good. And as a Christian, as a Catholic, that's very important for me to have that spiritual aspect. And not only talk about it, but actually doing it is more important. So
Go ahead, Dubse.
Do you ever volunteer outside of the course? Like, do you go to community homes and give food out, or even with the force, do y'all go and volunteer at group homes or at communities like community homes and what do you want to do? Well, like places like that, like apartment complexes with low income.
yeah, like I told Brian earlier, I work in the organization called Review Houston Together, and we basically every year we pick out a house by an elderly citizen in the mostly low income neighborhood that they cannot afford to fix the house. So we pick one out, then we contact the organization will contact probably I'm not going to name, but the supplier of the material for us. A lot of time they donate it, and then we build the house. Sometimes it takes a whole week, the whole team. Sometimes we divide it, the carpenter, painter. I'm mostly a painter guy. I know how to paint and garden. We actually put together the garden to like the front of it, make sure the brush, the plant looks nice and dandy. So we do that, and like I said, we make sure that our officers are very involved in the community whenever they have a food drive, or they have. Sometimes we visit the women's shelter and make sure that the women have the right resource, and if they want to reach out. A lot of them are being abused in the domestic violence, so that's why they go to the women's shelter. So we make sure that we reach out to them, that they have the right resource to get help if they need it.
And like earlier you said, Like earlier you said that you had to leave the army, I believe you said?
I worked as a civilian for 1 year as a computer specialist. We actually was designing, actually back then they were building the Patriot missile. So we were programming, we had to have top secret clearance and we had to do a lot of programming for it. And we do a lot of tests. And it was in a civilian capacity. So I actually thinking about joining, but because my parents want me to be close to them as they get older, so I decided to join Houston Police Department instead.
Do you still use that skill on the computer?
I probably lost most of it. I still I worked in crime analysis for 5 years in the police department using a lot of access and Excel worksheet, so which I can be still very proficient.
It's that Excel.
Excel and Access, so don't you think I still very proficient?
You had a question? out there?
Yes, so just a little bit of a fun one, if you will. What type of music do you like to play when you play on the piano? Is there a particular piece that you like, or songs or genres?
I play a lot of pop music
Okay.
and Elvis Presley song.
All right.
So I like Elvis Presley song. It's low. Even though I say I play a long time, but I'm still very clumsy. So I like slow song. I don't like this classical
downstairs.
classical music that I have 1/8 note that you have to, you can try to catch up, man. I can't do that. I play the mainly quarter note very slow,
Yeah.
2/4.
Them catchy songs.
Yeah,
stuff like
very
that.
catchy and easy. But
They're actually coming out with the Elvis Presley movies.
Oh, really?
Soon enough, yeah. It looks really interesting. I think I'm gonna go watch it when it comes out. Ashley, do we have any questions from the online audience?
Yes, we do. We have a few more questions. I think we got to the volunteer organization question. However, they did want to know, do you have side jobs as well on top of your main job as a police officer?
can you repeat the question?
Do you only have the main job, or do you also have additional jobs as well?
Well, my main job is being a police commander, but my additional job is like, obviously I've been adjunct professor for last 11 years at UHD Houston downtown, which I really enjoy tremendously. Interact with my students like today. Actually, I teach 2 years face-to-face, but then after that, like anywhere else, you build just seniority, they let me do the online, which make it very easy. I really enjoy the face-to-face. The only problem is everybody know is that talking at US downtown very hard. So that's the reason I go online.
You telling me, man?
Got you.
Doing my thing right now.
Are you teaching any courses this semester?
Yeah, I teach white collar crime with some of my students here, the CJ 4304.
Yeah.
4304. And next semester I'll be teaching that class again. So if you like me, go ahead and sign up, because I don't really have tests, only research papers, right?
Hey.
April 1st is registration day, y'all. So put that one in your card.
But man, any other questions as well, actually?
Well,
No.
Thinking back on why I have no test, is that I learned in graduate school is that the best ability as a graduate student is learning how to reference and get a resource. It's how you memorize things. So when you try to memorize, you don't really have critical thinking. But when you learn how to access the resource and how to reference and how to write a paper, like I said, communication very important, including writing. That's why I really emphasize on writing. So that's
Awesome. But Brian, those are all the questions we have from the chat online.
all right. I'm gonna ask one more question because I'm curious myself. What are some challenges that you have like faced in like being a police officer? Because I know like there was a time whenever we needed a lot of officers, especially here in Houston. And like besides that, what were other challenges you've seen being an officer?
Oh, well, the challenge officer right now is motivate the officer because I know right now the morale is very low. After the George Floyd incident, as you know, we are the focus of the nation. Everybody, you look at the news, I think 2/3 of the segment is talking about police. So you got to motivate the officer, and of course you make sure that they do the right thing, but you also make sure that you motivate that you will recognize the officer when they do well. That's why I always make sure that I take time to write a letter of commendation for the officer. Being recognized is very important in our line of work. And believe it or not, even though the low morale, but the community support is tremendous. That people always, even when we eat, they pat on our shoulder, hey, keep up the good work, and that little thing like that really touch us.
I know I have one of my coworkers from my other job that when we went out to go eat, he actually paid for another officer's meal, and it made his day. And I've never seen an officer that happy in my life before.
I almost say that, but we technically we supposed to not get paid by somebody else, but I will get paid by somebody. So but officially I cannot say that. So
I also, like, whenever I was like coming in, like finishing San Jac, I wanted to be a police officer myself. The only reason why I wanted to be a police officer myself was because whenever I used to work at Whataburger, I found out that police officers get half off everything on the menu. So I was like, man, I gotta be a cop. If I'm not a cop, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like,
man, now explain why I see one of my sergeants every day have a Whataburger cup.
Yeah.
Now I know why.
Like, I'm a diehard fan of Whataburger, and like that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a cop, because I was like, what am I gonna get today, you know? Well, I don't have any questions left, Dr. Nguyen. I appreciate your time, taking the time for coming here. You know,
We got more.
oh,
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead,
You know, I work on commission, right? It's question I got paid, so go ahead. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
But if no,
Okay. Let's just do like hypothetically, right? Because I have a question about like policing here. So last week I saw this car get pulled over, but the driver didn't get the ticket. The guy in the back seat got it because the kid was standing up out of his car. Why is that? Like, shouldn't the driver also get a ticket?
If the seat is not old enough to be in the seat belt, and he's standing up without seat belt, yeah, he can get the seat belt. And the proper cause can be that because the passenger does not have a seat belt. So it's not necessarily that driver always get a ticket. It can be the passenger. So if officer see a passenger does not have a seat belt, he can give the passenger the ticket. And we have several years we have a click it or ticket. And I believe it is very important. I worked in traffic and accident for 4 years, and there was one particular fatality incident I remember very clear in my mind. There were 8 people that in the van that had a seat belt, and they all walk away. But there was one guy, because it's only have 8 seat belt. The guy that had a seat belt, he flew out and died.
Oh my God.
So having a seat belt is very important. And even for our officer, we are severely disciplined if we don't have a seat belt. So having a seat belt can make a huge difference. So I rather, some people even say that I thank the officer for giving them a $50 ticket for a seat belt, but they realize that without a seat belt, if they get to an accident, even a minor accident can kill them. So.
Okay, and like another theory that I have back in my head, do you guys use your seatbelt in front, or do y'all put it behind your in the back and just wear the seatbelt on top?
Oh, we do both. I mean, the one across and the one across the
You do both?
yeah, because that's the only way to secure. Because if you have that on top, then you still can. What happens is when you get an accident, your body move around, because it go with the momentum. So if you have one part, the other part still moving, and that's what in your body, in your brain, it had fluid, and when your fluid move around too much, it can damage your brain. So with a seatbelt, it stabilizes your body. So.
Perfect. A fun one I like to ask from time to time.
Uh-huh.
If you could have dinner with anyone else, anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be with and why?
Man, that's a great question. It reminds me of a question one of the commander asked when he interviewed the for his team member. One of the question is, if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
There you go, that too.
You know what was the correct answer? An ant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that. I can.
That's the only one. If you say an ant, he picked you as a team member. If you said you're lion, he picked you out. Because an ant is a team player.
Yeah.
A lion is a basically just by himself. He can roll, ooh, but he scare everybody away.
Yeah.
But an ant is a team member, a team player.
I had Ashley, actually, we had a program meeting and she asked all of us what would we be. Well, if we were an insect, what would we be? And I was like, I would rather be like one of those like praying mantis.
Oh, praying
I
mantis.
like praying mantis because
Why
they're so they're very like, you know, strong creatures, but nobody realizes that. They're very wise, you know, they're smart. They're really smart, just like ants, you know, they're really smart and they're really hardworking. So I feel like I'd be a great praying mantis. Ashley, I had seen a question.
I have answered your question. I did it. My answer is if I have dinner, the person I really want to have dinner with is my wife.
Aww.
Great
You know
question.
why? You know why? Because she put me to school. She worked for Methodist for 25 years. She just retired 2 years ago, and she take care of my kid. And when they're growing up without I almost worked 24 hours for 5 years to get my degree, go to work, and she take care of my kid very well and never complain. She complained once in a while, you know, like nag a little bit, but after that, she take really good care of me. And that's the reason if anyone, even you say, you can choose between President Biden and my wife. I think my wife happy. Of course, she's prettier than President Biden too.
That's an incredible question. I reciprocate that. I admire that a lot.
And just lastly, just going back to the garden thing, I like to get to know people in a bit more personal way. What would be your favorite fruit or plant or vegetable even? It could be whether that you like the results or whether it's resistant or just it's something personal that you like what's like what type of plant do you like and why?
I like the key light tree. I have a key light tree. You know why I like it?
Why?
Because you not only have the fruit, but you can also use the leaves. The leaves,
yes.
The leaves, you can cook with a lot of stuff with the leaves, and not only that, it's almost like a perennial too. The key light is very hardy. Even the winter, the deep freeze didn't kill it. It's the only one that survived. It's
the strongest one.
The strongest. It's no matter what, it survived, and it's like a person that gives you 100%.
Yeah.
So that key light tree give me 100%. So
there you go.
So
awesome. All
yes.
right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Any further questions? Ashley, I had seen one more question from the online chat and talking about what's the best advice to go back and going back to being in law enforcement, I believe.
Yes. Did you ever change your mind about the force when you first started? Or did you always know that you wanted to be in law enforcement?
I didn't know that I want to be in law enforcement. I was, like I said, I almost joined actually the Marine. I already took the ASVAB test and almost a day away from taking my physical. But my parents called me, so I had to look around. I had to scramble, and the the thing that fit me the most was with the Houston Police Department. Back then, they actually go to Fort Hood to recruit. So that's the reason I know about HPD. We're looking for the officers. So I decided to join HPD instead. So not necessarily, like I said earlier, I majored computer science. Not necessarily that you will use a degree right away. In the long run, you would a degree, but you got to look at what is your passion, what you really want to do, and what you fit you the most. So unless you think that making money is the most important thing, then go ahead. But to me, what is your true passion is.
You want to go get a job that you're willing to wake up for versus, pulling
Exactly.
yourself out to go get to the job. Yeah, I got you. I feel that.
Wise advice, wise advice.
I'm sorry.
Those are I said wise advice.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Any more questions?
No, not from the online audience.
Well, Dr. Nguyen, I appreciate your time. I thank you so much.
Thank you. I
for
really
everything.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Ashley, for inviting me. I got the invitation over the week, so I was so excited. And this dream come true. I got to meet everybody today. So thank you.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you, and thank you, Brian, for the recommendation. Brian who recommended you.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta get Dr. Nguyen in here. He's like, he's my professor. I might some interesting information.
So you didn't know I'm a comedian, right?
Huh?
You didn't know I'm a comedian? Hey, comedian can become the president, like a Ukrainian president, Zelensky. He's a comedian, but he's a great president. I really like him. So,
But overall, thank you so much for joining, guys. And those of you who are online, this is a recorded session. So if you didn't get a chance to catch any questions or weren't able to follow up on anything, you can always go back on the on campus groups, I believe it's at, and watch the video from there.
Yes, yes.
Anything else?
Be on the lookout for the CLC reflection survey. I dropped it in the chat. However, if you did not catch it, don't worry. At 6 o'clock, it will be automatically sent to you. Please take the time to fill that out. We would love to hear what you learned from the event, what you would like to see moving forward. And it also goes toward your ATA requirements for your CLCs. Thank you all again for joining us for tonight. Thank you again, Dr. Nguyen, for being with us. Check out Thursday, March 31st for our history CLC from 3 to 4:30 with Mr. McKinney, Houston preservationist and archivist.
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.